And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have two of my good brothers here in the temple. We have our our three-eyed master of the best worst jokes possible, good good brother Joe,
Hello, everyone.
and our resident sky pirate, good brother Sizer.
Ahoy and avast, and yes, my aspects are sky and pirate.
So we are back once again with more of Parselings. Now, initially the plan was to cover the GM Handbook here and then do Parsecyte research next week. But I looked at the size of both entries and the stuff that would be skimmed because I skimmed GM advice quite a bit, and I decided, you know what? It's probably best to merge these into one go. So that's what we're going to be doing. And obviously, once we're done with both of them, we'll be giving our final thoughts on Parselings as a whole. Now, there are some mechanics stuff within the GM Handbook, which is what I'm going to be focusing on, but the rest of it is going to be a lot of skimming, just because when you've gone through enough TTRPG books, the GM guide section starts to run together. I mean, it's nice, but it's not something I can really dissect.
Though I do think in this particular case we might see some interesting things, just because of how all of these, of the density of this system and setting. Lots of with how unorthodox it is, there may be some insights that you wouldn't have to put in a different game.
Oh yeah. But it opens up with the guiding principles. Things like communication is key, go with the flow, don't forget about your own fun.
That's a good one. I like that.
Talking about how you shouldn't slip into the players versus GM mindset. I feel like whenever somebody talks about how they need to make their game more challenging, it's easy to fall into that mindset.
For sure, yeah. The adversarial thing, like, is a good way to, in my experience, is a good way to kill a game.
But then they go into where to start, i.e., crafting the campaign. Opening up with the pitch, which is exactly what it sounds like. The catalyst, i.e., what the conflict is. The structure. The ways to structure the game, whether it be a drop-in, drop-out approach, how long it should be, whether it's a linear thing with more chapters or not. Then building the world, going into what type of genre the story is set. The NPCs, and there are some quick NPCs later on in the book. The protagonists and antagonists. Obviously, the players are the protagonists, but I feel like this is here to illustrate what the connective tissue with the PCs is, because obviously, being a more contemporary kind of game, you can't really do the you all meet at a bar kind of thing.
And go adventuring to kill goblins. Know that you'll get a first degree murder charge for that.
Then going into common knowledge. With the society part of common knowledge, the two major questions they ask are, what role do parselings play in this world, and how numerous are the infected in the world? And of course, the location, the kind of technology that's available. Obviously with these, I know it's tempting to put in a whole economic system, like you're playing Axe or something like that. But you don't have to go that far if you don't want to. And anyone who insists you do have to go that far, or that it's better if you do, is trying to sell you a bridge in Brooklyn. But then, of course, they do get into session 0, opening up with considering house rules. As well as the general conduct, which can be just... Whenever it comes to discussions on conduct, I feel a lot of it can be summarized as, don't be a dick.
You know, it really can. It's just like, I've heard people from all kinds of walks of life, talk about, like various ways to make sure that your game's a good place for everybody. And at the end of the day, what it does just boil down to that. I'm really trying not to get political here, but it was hard, so I just decided to switch topics. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of discussion on that matter, especially in the advent of things like the X card. But I've already done a video a while ago about my thoughts on that. But setting ground rules. I do like that they put up absences / tardiness. I do have a pet peeve whenever somebody says that they'll be there at that time and then tells me the day of or the morning of that they can't make it. I realize shit happens sometimes, but when it happens multiple times in a row, I think that's when it becomes a bit less of a victim of circumstance problem. And in some cases, I may have to invoke one of the punishment games, though a lighter one. Just saying, you have to plank for 30 seconds. And when it comes to rules lawyering, and going into expectation of player agency, of character history, communication between GM and players, between players, and feedback. As well as a session blueprint, going into the framework, talking about the narrative along with useful tools.
Maps. Love a good map.
The flow, about the difference between low intensity and high intensity scenes, which, since that is a big part of the mechanics, it's good that they mentioned that here. The notion of downtime, of taking breaks, the epilogue, because eventually the story is going to reach an endpoint. And then, all the way on page 96, this is where we get into GM mechanics, and the first one they bring up is quotes. So, and let me put this in a separate tab, just for reference. Quotes, which was something that was brought up during our discussion of the choice system, was described back on page 44 as a signature move, that special thing that you're famous for. Here it's going into a bit more detail. Starting off with the ideology behind the chaos. Essentially, a bit of guidelines on how quotes can be utilized. Though it's more of a broad sense, because I don't think you can ever do a hard and fast rule regarding quotes. That would completely contradict the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger one is script. Script, as has been mentioned in the past, is basically the EXP of this game. And they do advise that each session your players should be getting between 3 or 5 scripts per session. Oh.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they do talk about starting scripts. I will admit I think providing a starting script budget as a baseline should have been something to consider. Also, bit of a side note, either Joe or Sizer, one of you is echoing because I can hear myself through you.
Yeah, I think it's Joe.
Is
I,
it
I
me?
keep when yeah, I think it's you. Whenever you're talking, I'm seeing your. Whenever a monk is talking, I'm seeing your icon light up in Discord.
Hold on. That shouldn't be the case. Um, Noise canceling suppression is on. Um, Let me increase my sensitivity.
Right.
Test. Okay.
Let's do. One of us needs to test to see if it comes through.
Yep. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Is it okay?
I think we're good.
Okay.
But there's also advice on goals as well as milestones, i.e., using milestone-based advancement instead of using scripts. I think in this sort of situation, going with a little of both might be the best approach. Getting script normally, but also if there's a situation that calls for getting a specific ability, don't cut it off because they don't have enough script to pay for it. Just let them have that.
Yeah. Or a little XP debt never hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm. And they do talk about conditions, which, as we mentioned before, conditions are very much tied to the face cards, and getting rid of them is not easy. But it goes into what they can mean, as in what each condition suit might mean narratively. Think push cards relate to problems caused by matters like dyslexia or incoherency. Intent deals with issues of knowledge, planning, or the character's mind. Beats are problems related to the body, lasting injuries or to organs and limbs. And conduct affects social standing and how they struggle to present themselves.
So that could be like some kind of lasting embarrassment that has diminished you in the eyes of your social circle.
Mm-hmm. And of course, going into scars. And how one can recover from them, either through medic checks if it's a more physical thing, or using intent or conduct if it's a more psychological thing. And also talking with the checks, talking about how the types of checks that might be appropriate for different suits, as well as how to use the numerology to tell a story. And going into success thresholds. So for a simple task, 2 successes. For something a bit more moderate, something a bit that they say requires a bit more thinking and preparation, 7 successes. For difficult tasks, 14 or more successes.
Okay. And I wonder how that tracks. I mean, that kind of backtracks a little bit with like the levels of parses, I know, right?
Mhm.
Because we had levels of parses that were, well, we had greater levels than that for like the exalted ones.
Mhm.
I'm gonna look at that real quick. Moderate was 7, major was 14, grand 21, miraculous 28, divine 35. So
Mhm.
there we go.
Oh yeah. When it comes to contested checks, they now if it's an NPC that has their own deck, just use the normal setup. But if they're using quick NPC, then it's a little bit different. You assign a dice pool to the contested checks, similar to players. The NPC will require dice from the appropriate dice type for individual checks. This would be the sole case where dice are involved.
And wasn't it just? Yeah, I guess it was just for the DM or the
Mhm. Yeah,
in this a GM in this case. Yeah.
and speaking of which, the next section we have is going into quick NPCs. So this is when you need mooks or something like that very, very well quickly.
Hmm.
So
Which is useful.
Yep. So the first step is determining the risk level. And this is going to determine the dice pool that this NPC will have. So low risk ones, so your standard mooks, your goons, what have you, 2 dice. For moderate risk ones, 3 to 4 dice. For high risk ones, 6 die or more. And after that, you assign dice to the 4 different images: push, intent, feats, and conduct, much like with PCs. Each die represents the talent or skill in that field. And for stat distribution, especially when it comes to feats, there's a few concepts to keep in mind. Like a starting deck size of a PC is usually 15 to 16 cards. So an NPC with 3 dice and feats would have an equivalent. And there's a table at the bottom that goes into this about what the amount of d6s would be equivalent of when it comes to card draws. So 1d6 would be equivalent of 2 to 3 cards. 2 would be 4 to 5. 3 would be 5 to 6, and 4 would be 6 to 7.
Handy.
Mm-hmm. And of course, more die in a particular spot is going to result in more card equivalent. And after that is stat calculation. So their health is based on the total number of dice. Their defense is also total number of dice. Their initiative is intent plus conduct with a minimum of 1. Their speed is equal to the feats dice. Their stamina is equal to the total number of dice plus push. So that's how many die they can use before needing to recompose. And for each die, they can have one modifier, one way to further tweak what that NPC can do. And
Would that be like some kind of specialization in? I guess maybe we'll find out.
I have a feeling that's the intent. And when doing actual checks with the setup, obviously the die pool for the different images is key. And in some cases, you might want to roll less die to preserve stamina. Uh, the numbers that are rolled is treated as successes, and you apply any modifiers as necessary. So, for example, with attacking, you would roll the feats die and compare that to the target's defense. They do recommend at least 2 dice in the feats pool so that there's an actual threat against players, which makes sense since otherwise you'd cap out at 6.
Yeah.
Which most starting characters are going to be able to deal with that easy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the NPC is a parseling, that if they're contributing to a parse, then you just roll a single d6 and add the result to the parse. If they're contributing an aspect, roll 2d6 to determine the number of successes added. And I do like that the NPC stat card is basically a business card here.
Makes sense.
And one you just hand out to the players. Hi, my name is Thug Number 1. My goal is to punch you in the face.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya.
Goal, revenge for patricide. It doesn't have quite the same ring in as you killed my father, prepare to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but what happens if their word is patricide?
Ooh. I guess that'd be an aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's a noun. So, oh wait, it can't. That can be. What was the other kind aside from aspects? It was like the adjectives one. Is under parses. Parts of a parse. Augments. It could be an augment because augments can be nouns too.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah. But that's a very specific word for somebody to have. If someone had the word patricide, I would be very suspicious about whether their father was still alive.
Yep. Meanwhile, I'm here.
Or at least it's not regicide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm here just going. Wait. At least they didn't change their name to Next. But you also have a thing for quickly generating encounters. Using one of the big things is iterative narration. For every 2 successes, someone can make a single statement that their character believes to be true about the world.
World sucks, man.
Tell me about it, bro.
And they do give a few examples. Like observation would be insight plus perception. Recollection would be insight plus memory. Records would be intelligence plus research/tech. And hearsay would be charm plus rumors/etiquette. This would, and the idea is for every 2 successes they add a bit of detail about the situation.
Yep.
There's a similar thing when it comes to essentially a prompt deck. That is, it's not meant to be full on encounter creation, but more of giving you keywords to build around. I don't think I have the prompt deck though. And they also go into a bit more detail on parses, and I do remember this was something that I wanted to see, since you could, if you've gotten enough successes, you could feasibly do anything with parses. So having having some sort of guideline is going to be important. And here's where they kind of go into that. First with the different parts. But for example, what the themes for parse aptitudes would be. So I talk about emissions, which we did cover before, which are more moderate strength or higher. Once they're released, emissions tend to have a mind of their own and cannot be easily controlled by the players. Embodiment, which is about effecting change on oneself. Unless it's a miraculous parse, embodiments are transient and temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And they say your players may learn quickly that if an embodiment parse fails with that kind of power, there's an incredibly high chance of irreversible disfigurement or worse. At your own discretion, you may opt to give out feats-based conditions based on the disfigurement and unnatural forms generated from embodiment parses. And enchantment. If a player has been affected by an enchantment parse, it can also be represented by conduct conditions. By using the condition cards, you give players as a reminder that not everything is as it should be. And with the next section, parse levels, it is, I guess you could say giving a bit more guidance on parses, and it talks about the success threshold for them, a guideline effect, the reach, which is, I guess, area of effect, but I feel like that doesn't quite cut it. Duration, how long it lasts, and what happens if you fail. Because remember,
Okay.
parses are high reward but also high risk, and trying to screw around with parses, especially at higher levels, can result in bad things.
Indeed. I think a lot of the GMing is going to be sort of making, unless players think things out exceptionally well. And even if they do sometimes, it's going to rebound on them in ways they didn't expect.
Especially since the higher tier stuff is all but impossible to do solo in this game.
Yeah.
But for example, with minor parses, they go into how it can work, and also a few suggested effects. An offensive one would be treating as an attack. A utility would be treating as a simple or extended check. The embodiment example would be cooling your emotions. A enchantment ones might be lowering the temperature, or an emission might be creating a cold breeze with the visage of a small girl, just enough to convince an old man with cataracts that his house is haunted.
Creepy little girls never fails. Thank you, The Shining.
This is meant to be the representation of a parse: cold plus dull. So that'd be the minor version. The moderate version, which is going to be the bread and butter of campaigns. A embodiment might be a calm center within oneself, whereas an enchantment might be a small doll made of ice in your hands now. While a major parse, which is going to have a threshold of 14, you could either treat as an attack, or on the target's next check, you could alter the successes by 2 or the draw by 1. The embodiment that they give is, your touch is ice cold, but you are immune to fire. The enchantment. Time to give a little someone a frostbite. They deserve it. They shot first, right?
Oof.
Or the emission, you're creating a small golem that's cool to the touch. So this is how you make a Frosty the Snowman. Although...
Now they just need the words corncob, pipe, and button, and nose.
What would be very interesting is if somebody used this to give someone like an extreme version of brain freeze.
I bet you could do that with a minor parse, honestly. Just enough to make them distracted so you could sneak by or something.
Yep. But a grand parse, an example that they give is you can now breathe cold.
Ooh.
Whereas the enchantment version, the target is encased in ice and not exactly in for a nice time. Whereas the emission, a host of chilled spectral mannequins surge forth and wrapping their arms around any unfortunate souls. Whereas a miraculous parse. Some of the examples given are gathering water vapor and the blood of an open wound. The target of this parse grows a frozen mannequin arm. It works almost like one made of flesh.
Nice. Bionic ice arm.
Whereas a miraculous emission is creating a sentient doll. Though they say, you gotta wonder what makes this construct any different from a lingua. And a divine...
It's a legally distinct lingua. There's a difference.
A divine parse is where we're dealing with citywide shit. Where the embodiment you generate so much cold that you end up becoming incoherent.
Yeah. Well, power's rivaling an incoherent of cold.
Yep. And you gain the aspect of cold and automatically succeed in becoming incoherence. Drop your coherency to -1.
Ooh.
Ow. Of course, if you fail a divine tier parse, the aspect holder of the parse will die, and 6 cards must be sent to the health damage piles among the survivors. Each parseling will lose an additional coherency.
Not good for your body or brain.
Not at all.
But then they talk about finalizing the parse. So assessing it, the present options, how significant it is, and the execution. So there's 3 parts of execution. The success, the things that go right, the run-on, for when the parse works a little too well and gets out of control, and failure, the recoil back onto the parselings. And again, I think there should always be a vibe of parses can be very powerful, but if you screw them up, they can backfire hard. That is the general sense I get with this.
Feels like a bit like Paradox in Mage. I mean, here we have the World of Darkness comparison once again.
Yeah, and I have on Word of God, mage was an influence.
Yep.
But
Seems that way. Seems honestly, even with all of the unorthodox systems, it seems a lot easier than mage.
Yeah, I can see that.
well, I don't think a canny enough player is going to be bending the balance over a table like you could with mage.
Yeah.
Uh,
True.
Especially Ascension. Awakening, not as much, but it could still happen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the custom abilities here, I'm glad that this is here since, this is a very contextual game. So providing some guidance for when people are going to be doing their own add-ons is important.
Hmm.
The steps involve our aim, what is the purpose of this power? Fit, how will it affect your story? Adaptation, how will it actually work? And then they go into things like essential components, optional benefits, and drawbacks on a kind of point system. Which I'm trying to see what the suggested point budget is. It's meant to be a set of benefits and drawbacks. Uh, so there isn't
When the
a,
values add up to 0.
which
Yeah.
is interesting. That could result in a bit of min maxiness. Uh,
I mean, you get that from any game, though.
mhm.
Like, people will generally attempt to optimize things whenever they play a game.
Oh yeah,
But at least it's not too bad.
no, and when it comes to the costs, um, they are the really expensive ones are that way because they are very drastic effects. Like say Lifeblood, which has a -10, but whenever you use it, you have to permanently reduce your health by 1,
Oof.
and you cannot recover that health by using script.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do like that instead of putting all of the benefits into one big dumb list, they have it in thematic categories.
Mhm.
Essential components, optional benefits, optional drawbacks. It is a nice way of at least narrowing the focus. And I know I've used the term big dumb list plenty of times in this series, but that's a pet peeve I have with certain power systems. A lot of Supers games I've played definitely fall into that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd say also a fair few Universalist games. Even as much as I like stuff like Besum, it does fall into this trap. It's an inevitable trap to fall into when you're dealing with um, a multi-genre affair like Hero System or like GURPS or Savage Worlds or the like.
Hmm.
Okay, that's not entirely fair. With Savage Worlds, they do have some genre leanings that they build around. So it much like with the analysis paralysis thing, you can never fully get rid of this problem, but you can minimize it.
Hmm.
You can make it at least a little easier to deal with. Uh, and after that is another one of these short stories. And then we have parasite research. And I do like that it's read out, kind of like those reports that you would find lying around in journals in a Resident Evil game. Uh,
The old text or audio log.
mhm. Although, in my opinion, the audio log style of it was significantly overused.
Oh,
In
sure. It seemed cool in BioShock, but 50 games later.
uh, like, although if I were to aim my barbs at anyone who really resulted in my souring on audio logs like that, I would put it at games like Dear Esther, which I remember everybody and their mother glazing at the time, and I'm like, I'm thoroughly unimpressed.
I don't think I've ever heard of that game.
That was one of those like story focused walking simulators, right?
Oh yeah, and I found the writing within those audio logs to be, for lack of a better term, masturbatory.
Mm.
I found it to be purple prose.
Yeah.
Which I think I explained to you two what purple prose is.
Overly
I don't think you
florid,
ever
I
needed to.
believe.
Yeah. Overly flowery and detailed to a point of calling attention to itself.
It's like, oh look, somebody discovered a thesaurus.
Hey, I won't have you putting down a thesaurus. I've used that many times when coming up with names for the stuff in my game.
Well, of course,
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you down for what I would look like, Adam Sessler.
Mm-hmm.
But they do talk about the physiology of a Parsecyte. Some of them look like dehydrated black powder, similar to coal dust. Others look like liquid particles. Though a Parsecyte outside of a host can only maintain animation for a few minutes or a few hours before death. Then, when in liquid form and mixed with blood, it develops a structure that resembles an insectoid organism. There's no uniform shape, but some take the form of butterflies, bees, and beetles.
Cool. So we could have our creepy scarab like crawling around in a corpse or like a mummified corpse or something.
Mm-hmm. Then talk about how it gets into the body, what it does in contact, what it does to the bodily fluids of whoever is infected with it. Some attempts at cultivating, which have had mixed results, as well as managing guidelines. Which the management guideline, I don't know why, but it reminds me of an SCP report.
Well, it's got the redactions there, which I think you'll find in a few of those.
Oh yeah. It goes to Parselings in review about the physiology, the ways to identify a Parseling, as well.
I'm guessing they can't look like normal people after a certain point.
Well, the Parsecyte is essentially a parasite. It needs a I'd say it straddles the line between parasite and symbiote. It needs a host. If it doesn't have a host for too long, it withers up.
As long as it doesn't transform my hand and grow eyes on it, I'm fine.
But some physical identifiers of a parseling, which is what the PCs are, and what happens when a Parsecyte takes a human as a symbiotic host, are things like the particles can be seen microscopically in blood samples. So, everybody remember the blood test from The Thing? No, that's an option.
Yep.
A wound will bleed invisible ink mixed with blood. Visible ink mixed with blood.
I was about to say, how do you tell if it's invisible ink? Do I have to rub it with lemon juice?
Then they will have a number of words marked on their bodies that look like tattoos. And it looks like there was something else, but someone said, not an ideal method of determining an infection.
Makes me wonder if it was something involving a knife.
It does say death may result in the creation of it. And I can't tell what the rest
motherfucker.
is. And hello there, Loki. welcome to the party. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Mildra. I am your one and only gaming monk.
Heyo.
And tonight we are delving a bit into the final parts of Parselings. I hope RV there yet was treating you well. But the words is getting back to it. The words is tattoo. That certainly makes sense. I mean, the tagline for Parselings is "Words are what defines me," and the word tattoos is basically taking that to its literal conclusion. So sometimes it might be on scalp, fingernail beds, tongue, or eyelids. As a parseling lives and progresses, they may accrue more words. They don't know how or why it occurs, but it tends to occur in parselings that use their abilities. And while the tattoos can be removed, there is an implication that it has psychological effects that make it not the best idea to do. This is
basically gives them aphasia for like a particular word.
That, and it says laser removal of tattoos results in a similar effect, though with some emotional disturbance. Parselings become erratic and display signs of mental trauma. This may be exhibited as emotional outbursts, social withdrawal, and persistent migraines. Then going into the psychology of parselings, and where Professor Adam Murr apparently interviewed 12 parselings about their experience becoming infected and their experiences as an infected individual. And going into a few case files where we can really see the effect of the whole words thing. Then the matter of incoherence. Though it is made clear that full-on dissection of an incoherent is too dangerous. And
well, what happens when they're destroyed? One wonders. Maybe we'll get into that.
It says if they are... There is the implication that they're never fully dead. Even if you were to even if you were to destroy the body, it's more of they're not dead, they're just asleep. And if they are
Hmm.
exposed to their concept, they could revive again.
Hmm.
So although they could die in the way if they are immediately exposed to their representations of their concept, the possibility exists that they might revive.
Love that for them.
And going into warnings about the abilities of an incoherent, the things that they would consume are not just physical things, but even things that are more abstract, like the fluff example that they give here. The fluff incoherent might consume fluffy things such as rabbits or their fur or carpet, but also might gain nourishment from the pointless ramblings of an elderly person. This would change the elderly person to speak in a direct and brusque manner that they would otherwise not.
Oh.
This is when it comes to feeding, they have to touch the object or person. And whenever they do, they are taking away that concept from that person. And of course, sometimes they can project that concept word on inanimate objects or just in the area around them. The fluff incoherent will cause his home, his furniture, and anything he touches to become fluffier. The world around the euphoria incoherent might become more colorful, lighter in mass. These effects only become noticeable once the incoherent has reached a significant level of power.
Okay, so not your garden variety of fluff incoherent can fluffify the world around them.
Given the whole embodiment of a thing, maybe it's just me, but I feel an effective touchstone of incoherent would be the devils in Chainsaw Man. How each one of them is this embodiment of this fear of a thing.
Yeah. Makes sense. Only like sort of spread out to like any word that exists.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes multiple words. For example, the songbird incoherent, they give a guide, not a guideline, but a profile to the word in question is voice, with other words being surgically removed. And when it comes to managing it, they say, avoid speaking in presence of songbird, written/visual confirmation of orders strongly recommended. Avoid using parseling agents when managing subject. Parses may be adversely affected.
Now, this definitely feels like an SCP thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit.
But also, we also talks of paragraphs, the term for a group of parselings, and how they could be managed. Then lingua, which as we mentioned before, a lingua is essentially when a Parsecyte ends up getting into an animal.
Mm-hmm.
We have the categorization of them. Minor type ones are just slight deviations. These are small fragments. They may devolve into a swarm of Parsecytes if the fragments are too small. A major lingua, which is still in the minority of lingua populations. They can be 2 to 4 times the size of the original animal host. A major lingua can have abilities that rivals most incoherents and powerful parselings.
Hmm.
and a divine lingua, which is described as a theoretical stage, is where you get the creatures of myth approach. With the idea that it seems that a divine lingua has never been seen, but this is what could potentially happen because linguas keep wanting to consume and grow.
Yeah. And I wonder what happens if something else eats a lingua. Probably it takes over. It takes them over, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Or the parasite takes them over and just transfers.
Yep. And after that, it goes into the appendixes, which we've already covered the ones that we were going to. And with that in mind, and given the time that we've been at it, looks like I made the right call earlier. But that more or less covers parselings. So before I get into my thoughts on the matter, what do you guys think of parselings overall?
I really want to give this a shot.
Yeah, agreed. It is very interesting. For someone like me who's played a lot of World of Darkness, there is quite a bit of familiarity in some of the concepts and some of the ways that it's put together, even if it does use deck building and cards instead of just your typical character sheet with dice. Now we have character sheet plus cards. Um, I like it. I think it'd be worth giving a try. I know that if I played it, I'd be referencing the rules a lot until nothing it hasn't really clicked. I don't think it. I can honestly say that it's clicked for me. How everything goes together and works. It the but I'm a tactile learner. Joe, are you the same way? You learn more by doing.
Yeah, I learned more
Yeah.
by doing.
Yeah, so definitely the true with this case with I've used the word unorthodox a lot, and I think it still applies because I've just not played a game like this before, and there aren't as many TTRPGs that use a randomizer other than dice to how they do things.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely worth a shot. I think it will be a slow first few sessions as people get in the habit of building decks and the flow of how that works and what all the different cards mean and do and putting together tricks and completing challenges. And even then, we haven't even gotten into parses yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I could almost see first playing a game where your characters become infected, and then you're just using the more mundane aspects of the game, and then you become infected by parasites and gain your parse powers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that might be a good way to ease people into it. But maybe this is the kind of thing where you just want to sort of dunk your head in, go under and swim for a little bit,
Mhm.
and then come back out and see where you're at.
Like, in all honesty, with a bigger understanding of the system and how it works, you could technically even do things like take it to a non-modern setting. This really, it's really open-ended because it's all based on language.
Yeah, for sure. And well, it would be hard to do in a language that you didn't know, of course, right?
Well, no, but you could easily set this to a more fantasy-esque setting or even a
Yeah,
cyberpunk setting, and you could do a lot of things with this.
yeah.
And that's how we get parses as dwarven runes. I mean, there is technically a setting with nominal city, but it's one that uh, isn't that integral. Like I know we brought up World of Darkness. This This isn't akin to actually the Modern Knights isn't a good example. This isn't akin to say Seattle in Shadowrun or Night City in Cyberpunk. The setting is more of a vibe rather than a specific place.
That makes sense. It could be just like small town X or mid-sized city L or something like that.
That being said, I do think Parselings lends itself more to more urban affairs.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, because how are you going to see the major consequences of those parses if you don't have more people to be around for them to affect?
Yeah. The point is, could you do dungeon delve kind of affairs with Parselings? Yes, but because of how communal its themes are, I don't think it would be playing to its strengths if you tried to do that.
Yeah.
Very true.
Now, for me, there's very much a lot to like with this. I enjoy the way the card setup works. The fact that there is a bit of strategy to the cards that you pick when building your deck. The approach to resources and the fact that there's reliable ways to get resources back. These are all very nice things to have. I'd say the biggest strength and weakness is on the same coin, and that is the very communal, very narrativist approach to things like parses.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of it, it means that you need to have everyone on the same relative page, even more so than a lot of other TTRPGs.
Yeah, absolutely. However, I do think it also gives you the tools and like the suggestions of how they doing character creation together and sort of sharing words around. They give you the tools to do that straight up.
They do. This is very much a case of you can lead a horse to water, but a pencil must be led. Wait, that's not how that works.
It does remind me of something that I saw a while ago. There is this series that was done by someone named I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was called Epithet Erased, where a bunch of people had powers literally based off of a word, and depending on how they perceived that word or all instances of that word, they could have their powers could have a lot of different capabilities. It's just a lot of the times you can't really explore that depending on what it is. Case in point, the main character had the word dumb, which can mean to mute, or even, which is very interesting.
Yes. Why did I immediately think when you said main character and dumb? Why did I immediately think of Naruto?
You know, you're not wrong.
Although, I would add that people who prefer a defined effect list are not the people who I would recommend this to. I would be far more willing to recommend this to people who prefer not only just a more narrativist approach, but also games that have some sort of stunt system. So your Exalteds to an extent, very much your Feng Shuis. People who may have played Wushu back in the day would certainly fit here, but that sort of cinematic leaning, but more importantly, the idea that you're going to be making the effects on the relative fly.
Yep.
because something that we did not see and would kind of be contradictory is a word effect list.
Indeed. I mean, that would be just your dictionary, more or less.
Yeah, and putting in the dictionary into this would make the book size balloon out of control, and this is already a pretty big book as is at 221 pages.
Yeah. Boy,
So,
oh boy.
so as far as where I would put this game in my grading system, I'd say Parselings would fall right into recommended. It is very close to strongly recommended, but as I mentioned, the more narrativist aspects of the game do mean that it's going to require a certain type of table. That's not a bad thing. It's just something you have to be aware of.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that whenever I do these grading systems, the biggest part of it is not how good or bad the game is, but how easy or difficult it is to recommend. If it's hard to recommend, then it gets if there's more caveats, then it's not going to be as high on the scale. And recommended is in those cases of almost greatness. They just have a couple things that hold it back from getting the full strongly recommended treatment.
Sure, and I definitely think that this one is, the caveat is probably, I think you were kind of alluding to it, not for everybody, right? There are some people who are going to see like the fuzziness of the words and what the meanings might be, and they're going to be turned off because they don't have that effect list there.
Mhm.
It's yeah. It's defined by it's defined by how we define things
Mhm.
more or less. Yeah.
And it's for the it. I would s- I know it'd be tempting to say, well, if somebody's trying to get off of the world's most litigious role-playing game, is this something I'd recommend to them? Probably not. It depends on how strong of a imagination they have.
Mhm.
Yep. If you
And
like, more fuzzy supernatural elements, I keep using that word. Um, I'm trying to think of like good properties where that would come into play, and I'm sort of coming up empty right now.
I would say a lot of a lot of manga that fall into the urban supernatural approach would be
Hmm.
natural fits here.
I can
Uh,
see that. Like we're thinking like I don't know. I've not seen Jujutsu Kaisen. What is you're thinking along those lines or?
that's one potentially. I'd say another one. Just even though it's not exactly a 1-to-1, would probably be
Maybe like
Mononoke.
there was yeah, Mononoke. There we go. Yeah. I've seen a few episodes of that. That definitely has that same kind of feel.
Hmm.
Um, and what was that one? Oh, Darker Than Black comes to mind as well.
Yeah,
That's an older one. I don't know if people know that one anymore,
I do.
but cool.
And with both of those instances, you certainly have that supernatural element, but you have very specific rules on how the supernatural element works, which is the key part. Like with the medicine seller in Mononoke, there's the things that he needs in order to deal with said Mononoke.
Yep.
Uh, with Darker Than Black, if you are a contract holder, there are certain required actions that you have to take anytime you want to after using your powers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that you're required to do make absolutely no sense, but you have to do them. Like the guy in the first episode who had to keep counting marbles in a grid. uh,
I know. Sorry. I just thought of something. It's if someone was a fan of like the old Vertigo imprint of DC, like we got things like John Constantine Hellblazer and Shade the Changing Man and some of the Grant Morrison stuff like the Invisibles, especially the Invisibles. I think this is an easy recommend to them.
Oh yeah. Now, with that said, that is going to do it for Parselings, but that doesn't mean we'll be idle for the next few weeks. While it is going to be a couple weeks before we get to our next season, which, spoiler, that season is going to be Far West. Because I was asked, can we do something weird West? And I said, let me take that and raise you one.
That was me.
Mm-hmm. You specifically asked for Weird West. I ended up giving you Weird West meets Wuxia.
Taking us to the Weird East.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the East or the West? Which is it?
Yes.
Although it's
yes. Okay.
If there's any movie that could be used as prep for that particular project, I'm pretty sure both of you have seen the man with the iron fists.
Got it.
No, I've not seen. Wait, who is that? Who is in that?
Well, RZA for one, but also.
Oh right. Oh, now I know what you're talking about.
In the first one, you had Batista pulling a brass version of Colossus. But we'll be doing two one-shots, or rather two-shot episodes over the next couple weeks. So the day after April Fool's Day, i.e. the day after I give all of my coworkers PTSD again by doing nothing, we'll be covering Mythic Battles Ragnarok, the quick start of it. That game is currently crowdfunding. And Rune, which Rune is meant to be doing something that Riot probably should have done years ago, and that is take the world of Runeterra and bring it to TTRPG form. The closest thing officially done by Riot was a Bilgewater module for D&D 5e, which is high up there in the category of things we didn't ask for. Much like,
if I remember correctly, it's even along the lines of like unofficial stuff like the magic stuff. Or the early magic stuff, I should say.
Yeah. It is technically official. The Bilgewater adventure is just when people wanted Runeterra in TTRPG form, I don't think a 5e module of one region is what they were asking for, much in the same way that for years people wanted a TTRPG version of Magic the Gathering, especially given the strength of certain characters in that universe. I don't think anyone was asking for the plane shift campaign setting stuff, or just taking certain planes and putting them into 5e.
Wait, they did that?
Yeah. There were
geez, what did they put in?
So there were a few one-off campaign settings that were available for free called Plane Shift. There were 3 of them, I think. There wasn't a whole lot to them. Then there were 2 Magic the Gathering planes that got made into full campaign setting books.
Oh wait, can I guess before you tell me?
Shoot.
I've gotten Feywild and Shadowfell.
Wrong on both counts.
Okay.
The planes that they used were the universes that they used were Theros and Ravnica.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of Ravnica at least.
Probably because
I think there
Ravnica
was
got
one
way
more on
over
top of that as well, but like this is also where we got like a version of vampire as a playable race, as well as like these weird twin jackals, which were the Kenra,
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
amongst other things.
But like this just shows you that I have not been on the cardboard cracks since I was like got out of high school, and that was in the year 2000. Okay, so my references for MTG are way out of date.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. But the week after that, we will be looking at Berserk Struggler, which I did an interview about a month or so ago, and Mighty Heroes of Old by one of our dear friends in the monastery. So those will be the plans for the next couple of weeks. And after those one shots, then we will be returning to full seasons with Far West. Tomorrow, however, will be a brand new season of the Friday slot for Valley of the Judged, where Joel and I will be beginning our look at Night, an Avalon RPG.
That's Mark Barron's one, right? Or no?
No, this is brought to us by Entree Monde.
Gotcha. Same game, different game, same name. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Avalon is rather heavily used as a name for a lot of things. Though I am guessing that it's going to have a lot of Arthurian in it.
Oh yeah. A bit of Arthurian, a bit of post-apocalypse, a lot of Magitech armor. And I have described it as what Hellgate London probably should have been. Let me give it a link to you guys. So that is now for the episode tomorrow. It's going to largely be set up regarding setting, because this is one of those games where you cannot divorce the setting from the mechanics. I mean, obviously, a GM who's dedicated enough can do that, but considering the amount of work you'd have to do in order to make it work, is it really worth it? As a parallel, consider if somebody wanted to take the rule set in the World of Darkness and go full high fantasy with it, just using, say, Vampire. The amount of work you have to do would be a bit much. I know some people like to say, "Oh, I'd rather play in my own setting." I sometimes wonder when people say that if they actually have a setting or they just have a collection of ideas, which are not the same.
They're not.
Which fair play, but as the saying goes, don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. So that is what we've got. That's what we've got coming down the pipeline, and of course there'll be a few other surprises along the way. I can say for certain I am doing the roundtable for Oka Hoshin.
Oh, cool.
Later on this week. I had planned on doing it a few weeks ago, but schedule conflicts happened. So keep an eye out for that.
Who else going to be involved, Monk?
Deathblade, CJ Lung, and Brendan Davis.
Cool.
That's quite the lineup.
Mm-hmm. So keep an eye out for that. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Bye.